We're back again. Brian Phillips here with the ASW-28 from Volantex. We're just working through some awesome stuff here. Right now we were just getting ready to put this Y cable in so that we could utilize Y cable for our flaps and eliminate this extension cord potentially. And so that's what we're going to pick back up with. We basically got 3 channels here we're dealing with, 2 aileron channels and 1 flap channel, okay? So we had this little short splitter like this that was there before. And that was nice, but now that we actually need to reach out into the wing holes, I'm going to go with this bigger one, okay? Now you'll notice I'm hooked up to the bind plug. That's because auxiliary 2 is on the bind plug on a Lemon RX 7-channel with stabilization receiver. This is not the plus, this is just stabilization. It doesn't have the auto leveling. I've had some issues with mine so far on the auto leveling, so I've just kind of gotten away from it. It takes a longer time to initiate, so I've moved on from that. Some people have said they really like them though. I'm just not one of those people. Plus auto leveling is not something I currently need. It's a very good utility when you're learning to fly though, I'll tell you. Super, super helpful. Okay, so I want this cable to go under and then back out. You might have noticed I'm kind of jumping around on this plane right now, and that's just because there's so many little things to be done. There's not really a particularly great reason to do one versus the other first. So I kind of have this thing about just touch it once if you can. Okay, so you notice I'm having a heck of a time getting this thing through. I want to get it through here, okay? That's my objective. But that is actually really tight. I don't know that I'm going to be able to do that the way I want. So the other alternative is to go through the other side. And you see this wood is running into the foam. So I'm going to show you a trick. You can cut the foam. It's not going to hurt anything. This is just a wheel well, essentially. But you'll fight it for hours, and then you end up doing it anyway. So just cut the foam and be done with it. How do I know this? Well, because I've already done this before. And this is one of the steps I struggled with before, trying not to cut it. And then you find out later it's a huge waste of time to worry about that, because you're going to end up doing it anyway. So save yourself the hassle and just cut a little bit of the foam away. You'll be fine. That gets you around the wood there at least. Now you notice I am going to go the other way though. And that's fine. I'd like the excess to be down below, but I don't think that's going to necessarily happen that way. Now, why do I want to be on the other side over here, guys? Why do you think I want to be over there? I'll tell you in a second why you think. I want to be over there because then I'm not fighting with as many wires to get up there. And the objective is to get this wire up to the receiver and stay out of the way as much as possible so that we can use different sized lipos. Even though I'm going to probably use the same lipo and it's probably going to be up at the top. Okay, so now that can go way back there and just loop back and do whatever it feels like. Then we can plug it in here to the throttle channel, which is the second set of pins over from the right as it lays out right now. Okay, and then this is eventually going to stick up in here, and it's going to be held by pressure and or other persuasion. But then those 2 wires that we're looking at right here have to get up there and out either side. And I think we have plenty of length. Now it's just a matter of doing it. And it's harder than it looks, this step is. Okay, so we enlarge these holes back here so that we get tools and stuff through, knowing that we would have to do some things like this. And so I want to try to reach these wires through to this bottom cavity here. There's a cavity and then another cavity. And then there's a cavity and then a bunch of little gaps, okay? I want to try to kind of do this in an orderly fashion. And the other thing is you don't have to have this receiver up there. You can have it pulled out right now. Because really we're going to end up having 2 wires go out. Which is a good point. Good point, me. I need to find a cable that's about this long for the aileron on each side. Because they're going to be coming from the same place. Okay? So let's get that worked out real quick. I have lots of different extension cords and Y cables and stuff that's all pre-made. And then sometimes I just want to build a cable, so I have that stuff too. These things to build ends with. It's a real pain in the neck to do that though, so I try to avoid it like the death plague. Oh, look at this. Male to female servo extensions. Let's see what length these are. These are probably pretty close. Oh, buddy. Whoa. Whoa. That is close. That may be the ticket right there, guys. Look at that. That's probably about right. I bet you guys are curious how long this is. Nah. You can't be that curious. Seven 3/8, whatever that is, in millimeters. That's what Google's for, guys. Alright, so this is the right one, right here. It says aileron. Incidentally, it's the next one after throttle. Yep. Okay. So we can label that R. Or we could take the label off that we already made. Right aileron. I prefer that method, because I've already done the work. Now I just have to peel it apart, which might be as much work as the label was in the first place. This plane is finally gonna be done here pretty soon. I'm really excited to have it done. It's taken forever, guys. I mean, forever. And you know that because you've been here part of it, I know. But, you know, doing these projects, they drag on sometimes when you're picky like me. You want things done a certain way. And, you know, there's just not a Chinese company in the world that's gonna get as picky as I am. Because they got to try to make a living doing it, so I don't even really blame them for that. I don't know how they make a living doing it as it is. And they do pretty good work generally. Alright, so there's your right aileron. And then our left aileron. Same scenario exactly. So I'm going to pause it and come right back. Okay, so this one's going to be the left aileron. Okay. So remember the left aileron, we had labeled that as well. We said left aileron, LA, okay? So that was this far over one. Okay? And then the rest of them are as they are, which is pretty straightforward stuff. Elevator and rudder. So the elevator comes right after aileron, and then rudder. I'm just trying to get the twist out of this. Rudder comes right after that. And then gear is unused in this application because gears are on-off on our stabilizer for this. So, what we kind of need to do now is, now that we know this is a flap and this is the aileron, is we kind of almost need to get those taped together somehow with a signal wire in the same orientation, preferably. Okay, you see what I'm talking about, guys? Now, how do you take that difference in cable length out? You do a loop. Just like that, guys. Keep it simple if you can. So then, I need to tape those together or glue those together. And honestly, I'm going to glue them together. That's what I want. I want to hot glue them together. So I'll grab the hot glue gun. We'll take this back over to the other side because we have a divide here. It's the wing divide. That's one thing about working on a big plane. This really is, I mean, this is a big plane for me, but it's not a big plane by RC standards. You know, because guys will do a lot bigger planes than this. Especially sailplanes. Okay, so once that warms up, we'll go ahead and do that for both left and right. But I suppose at some point we're going to have to actually make sure they reach. Whew. Why don't we wait on that still. So this is the flap, so we have to put the flap label on here somewhere. Okay. On my last ASW-28, I used colors to mark what was what. And then I had colors out at the servos so that when I was at the field, if I had a question come up, I could just look for the color. I might do that at some point. But for now, I'm still just working on getting everything, making sure I can reach all the cables to where they need to be. And this is one of those steps that I'm not a big fan of, because there's a good possibility I'm going to have this set up to where I'm not going to end up taking it apart every time. It is a big plane though. So I don't know if I can pull that off still. I am with my 2.6 meter ASH-26. So I should be able to do it with this. Although that one's got a little bit shorter body. So that's the aileron. So now over here we've got, this is the flap. So we should undo that as well. I'm going to pause it while I get this done. Okay, so we got our label, our left flap, which, yep, that's on the left side. Just need to pull this out just a little bit. So I'm sure you guys are beginning to understand how this is going to be a pain to hook up later while you're out the field, if you didn't already know that. Okay, so now we need to grab this hot glue. Oh, that's nice, right on the carpet thing. That was smart. I knew that was going to happen too. Don't worry, it's not that hot. I just picked it up. Alright, so these two things need to go together, okay? One from the left, one from the right. Doesn't matter which one's which, right? Okay, there's the right aileron. We want to have that with one of the flaps, okay? It truly does not matter because it's the Y splitter, okay? And I hate to get too picky about this stuff because it's preliminary. We don't even know if this is going to reach yet. But we got to at least, what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? If it does reach, then we're not going to change it, right? The other thing is we want that double back on itself somewhere else, probably. We want it back further. We have to come back for that step too. So then the other one can be the same scenario, only it's going to be with this one, okay? Just want to make sure that the black lines up with the brown. Okay, which we have. Oh boy, that's going to be hot. It's not so bad. You know, with hot glue, it's one of those things where you'll do something like that and you're thinking, yeah, it's not that bad, and then all of a sudden the heat sets in and you realize how bad you burn yourself. And then the giant blister comes up. Okay, cool. So now that we got those glued together, we can set this aside for a moment. Perfectly right there, and not forget to leave it plugged in all night or something like that. Okay, so this one goes to the left side, which is over here. It's very tempting to just put this up on top, but I'm not going to do it. So this is the left aileron. See what I'm doing, guys? I'm just working it back. Just working it back. Okay, now I've got it right below where the hole is, so now let's hope our hole is big enough to grab it. Not quite from that side, but we can grab it from the other side probably. Oh, for God's sake, it's so frustrating. Just think if you were doing this without the hole being enlarged, it'd be like impossible. Okay. So now that we have that up, we can go ahead and switch to this side with another pair of forceps. And then once it's up, you can just kind of fight it through. Just like this, guys. Okay, so I've got it kind of in position there. Oh, come on, get in there. I've noticed some manufacturers have been doing a better job with this sort of thing and making quick detachment points. Horizon's done that on a couple of planes lately, and I just thought that is smart. But of course, they're on like small planes. They're planes that I wouldn't even take apart. So I don't really understand why they do it on a small plane, you know? It's kind of stupid. Oh, it's so close, but I can't quite get it all the way through with the wires the length they are. There we go. Okay. So once it's through, then we get to do the same fun process on the other side. Okay. So I'm going to pause it while I do the other side. Okay, so I got both sides out. And at this point, you know, we're going to know which side's the flaps because the flaps are the white, red, and black. And the ailerons are the other one. And ideally, what I would like to do is glue these also together so that it's quite evident which way they go. Oop, I plugged this one in backward. Gotta love it when you can plug those things in backward. Not exactly. Okay. So that one's plugged in with the black. And this one's gonna be plugged in with the black to brown. Okay. Okay, so it's plugged in now. So now at this point, you could take your hot glue gun and you could goop a little bit of glue in there and just let it be. Don't worry about it. It'll peel out if you don't like the way it works. Okay, so then, I mean, obviously those will still come undone, but they'll be in same space, spatial positioning. Alright, so those antennas, we need to protect them at some point. We're not going to do it yet because we got to get these two wires dealt with that are coming out over here. And now would be probably a pretty decent time to actually glue these connectors together, which is something you don't certainly have to do, but I always do it as a precautionary measure. See, we don't have servo wires coming unplugged. Just like that, just one strip is all we need. Just enough, and you can always peel that off later if you need to. But I'm going to let that set up for a second. Now those two wires don't need to be up here, they're just in the way. I'm going to try to pull them back. I'm going to see if I can do that now. I don't know if I can get in there to an angle where I can do that. Yes, I can. Sort of. Yes. You can see how ridiculously awkward all this stuff is, guys. It's super duper awkward. But you know what? If you're not into awkward, you're not into RC, you know? There's all sorts of things that are awkward. Whoa. Oh, I hope that noise wasn't me hitting that antenna. I don't think it was. I think it was something else. And that would be great if it was. Okay, so that isn't looking half bad right now. And granted, we're going to be able to tuck that back even further still yet once this stuff dries up. The glue. Okay. So now I want to keep it as centrally located as I can. It's not super critical that you have it at the CG, but it would be better at the CG. Some guys say it's really important. I don't know, I got several of them that aren't at CG and they work fine. But if some people are concerned about it, maybe there's some merit to it. So I don't want to totally poo-poo something I don't have a good explanation for, you know. Okay, so we're good enough there. That's fine, the way that works. Because this wood rail goes all the way to the edge. Whoops. Don't want to start flying just quite yet there, ASW. Alright, so these two wires, let's see if we can get these now. Looks like the yellow one is tight, but then the white one has got a little bit of room for slack there. I want to pull that slack back into the airplane. And I got to gain access to it first. So I'm going to hold it over with this pair of forceps, and I'm going to pull with the other pair of forceps, if I can get them in there at the same time. Okay, got them in there. So now all I'm doing is I'm just tugging that wire back in, just the one. Just by kind of giving a nice gentle twist, okay? Remember, whatever you do with these forceps, don't clamp them on, because you'll just damage your wires. You can clamp them onto maybe like power wires, but I wouldn't do it to a signal wire like this. Just create a spot for a short circuit. Okay, I'm going to pause and get some of this junk out of the way. Alright, back to work. That was driving me nuts, all that crap in the way. Okay, so remember we got flaps and we got aileron here. Okay, the grounds are going to be at the same direction. It looks like flaps are the white, red, and black. So we'll slide that in first. And then we'll glue these ones together as well. And like I was saying, these stiffening rods, or these spars, will go in and out of the wings a lot easier if you do it 5, 6, 7, 8 times. You know, whatever, couple trips to the field and they should be worn in a little better. Same thing we did on the other side we'll do here. And don't worry about that, it's going to come out if you decide you don't like it. It's a little toasty though. You can worry about that part of it. Alright, cool. So we've got that situated in a reasonable manner. Got some extension cords and Y cables that we'll have for the next project, or maybe on this one if we decide to do it a different way. So now you're seeing that we have this excess here, right? So that's all part of the show though. Because what's going to happen is ultimately at some point here, we're going to make it so that that can be just pushed into the plane when we're ready to fly. And that's why we're gluing these together like this. Because we need to be able to not have to think about which one's which. So really all we have to do is line up the black and then we'll be good. Meaning we have the negative wire in the right position. That will dictate that we have the correct aileron versus flap in the correct position. Okay? Does that make sense? I hope so, because you can't give me feedback. At least not right now. You will later, I'm sure, even if you don't know. Okay, so the stabilizer needs to scooch back at some point, but we do need to protect these antennas, and I want to try to keep them at 90 degrees of each other because it's a diversity antenna. So more than one way to skin this cat, but just thinking about where wires are going and everything, probably what we'll end up wanting to do. Oh man, I'd like to get that thing secured somewhere, but probably not going to be able to do that real easy. I got to think about this. Let's try sliding it back and see how we do for length. And that's really squishing stuff. And when I say stuff, I mean the foam underneath. Ooh, I didn't like that at all. Okay. That's definitely held in there, but that wood is bending. I don't like that. Not one bit. Oh, whatever. I think it'll survive, maybe, possibly, until the first crash, and then it'll probably crack. Okay, so the antennas can go this way, and that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little trick I've done in the past, but I'm not going to run quite as much of this little trick that I've done in the past. I ran into a problem one time on one of my planes, on the ARC-SM in fact, and what I used was this gas hose. I still don't even know if this is what caused the problem, but I had an issue and I had to point somewhere, and I pointed sort of at my gas tube. Well, this stuff works nice to hold that antenna in place, okay? Because it's like the perfect size, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this on, and I'm going to use it as a guide, okay? But I want to get back to the black stuff. The black stuff is actually not the antenna per se. It is still the antenna technically, but it's actually not the antenna. The antenna is the clear part, right? Okay, so I want to scooch this. See, now I just need to be able to get this to a spot where I can actually bind that down and relieve the pressure. I'm not able to reach right now though. Dang it. I'm not able to reach at all. I'm just right at the edge. And that's the worst possible place you could put pressure on it right now. So maybe if I do it like that, that would be acceptable. I think that's the way it's going to end up being right there. So then we can glue it without actually having to worry about damaging the antenna. So I'm going to pause it. Okay, step one. Tape the antenna where you think you want it to be, okay? Alright, so that's where we want that to be, ish. And then we can go ahead and do a little bit of glue to hold it in place, okay? I'm going to put a little dab of glue right there, okay? Then I'm going to take another little dab of glue and I'm going to go right above it, okay? Not try to overdo things. I don't think that's going to damage anything. I don't think it's going to deteriorate our signal. But to be honest with you, I'm actually tempted to just leave this tape there. It's not going to hurt anything. Okay, so now let's see what we get for length on this cable. We can take that up to kind of the same area and then just split off at another direction. That would be good. So we'll go like that, okay? So let's get this collar on this one too. So you want, I don't know, like half an, yeah, 3/8 of an inch, something like that. Slip that in, run it down, and then that's going to protect that weak spot too, which is kind of cool. I hadn't really thought about that being a benefit. Just making a tail so it's easy to get this off later. I've been burned before on these, taking them out after the fact. So I'm just trying to be cognizant of my past mistakes and learn from them. Then you guys can learn from my stupidity as well. Hopefully I've worked it through by the time you copy my work. Okay, that's not working so hot with the tape. Let's try getting it in position first, and then maybe we can tape it after the fact. And guys, there's been times I haven't been able to get a true 90-degree position it's probably not like super duper critical. Got to remember, it wasn't too long ago we weren't using diversity antennas, and we survived, although they were bigger antennas, that's for sure. So there's that argument. Okay, we need to tape down less of this, I guess. Okay. It's taped down. That's good enough for what I need. I want this drip of hot glue out of there, though. Okay, so now we have hot glue. We need hot glue again. We're going to glue that little thingy in there. That little gas tube. Okay, just let it sit. If it starts to bond, then you can just wait and let it cool. Because it'll cool quick next to the screwdriver. Okay. Alright, now pull that thing out. Don't worry about your strings. There's going to be a nasty one. Alright guys, we're going to come back with another one. We are getting so close, I can taste it. Thanks for watching. Check the links in the description below. Help support our channel and support people who send us good stuff to review. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.